up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I am your host, Jon Herold. I know there's a lot going on, the confirmation hearing, Kash Patel and whatnot. I'm going to do my best to keep today's episode as short as possible, as informationally packed as possible. We got to start things off, though, before we get to our sponsors and everything. We're going to discuss this airline incident that took place yesterday. Pretty remarkable, and there's a lot of things I want to say about this, but for those who aren't aware, there was an airplane accident yesterday. An airplane collided with a Blackhawk helicopter near DC's Reagan Airport, and 64 people on the plane, I think 3 people on the helicopter. The part that was most frustrating to see, and obviously the condolences to people involved, prayers to people involved. This is a tragedy. Okay, watching how people handled this on Twitter last night was one of the most upsetting things I've seen in a while. Like the clickbait, the breaking news brigade, there was conflicting reports all over the place. Some people were being pulled out alive, some people dead. And I want to read this post from, his name is Bill McGinn. He's I think he's a Fox News guy. But what he had to say about this, and one of his friends that was involved, we need to rethink how people operate on Twitter, because it's shameful. Take a listen to this. This guy Benson says the conflicting online rumors about survivors are excruciating and must be downright torturous for loved ones praying for a miracle. And then this Bill McGinn says, quote, tweets it, "Yeah, one of my friends is going through this right now. His wife was on the flight, sweet girl who I knew from my time working in North Carolina years ago when they were dating. They have 2 children, ages 3 and 1. I feel sick to my stomach for him. Our friend group is with them for support. But conflicting reports of survivors is absolutely excruciating when no info is being provided." There was so much clickbait going on yesterday with this, and I don't even think I can adequately put into words how upset I am at these. Like, I'm disgusted by some of the behavior, and this is what's wrong with Twitter and the monetization. Everybody's so desperate for clicks, so desperate for engagement. They always have to be first. There's no critical thinking put into anything. They'll see whatever. Like, I could go out there and break a story with totally false information, and it'll go gangbusters, and nobody will fact check anything. And in times of tragedy, when people are honestly and earnestly trying to figure out what's going on, that's the best time for them to do it. And it got proven last night. It's disgusting. But we're going to go through some of this. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. There's decodes over everything. Was it intentional? Was it a terrorist attack? All these things. Sometimes accidents happen. Sometimes tragedies happen. Not everything is a conspiracy theory. And I know a lot of people in our community like to jump at that first thing and try to decode every little comm that's out there and try to prove that, oh, maybe this was intentional. And you know what? Maybe it was. Maybe. Who knows? But that being your first gut reaction to try to prove all these things, it's, I don't know, I think it's in bad taste. But, well, it is what it is. Trump said this last night about it, and this is where I think a lot of the people got, like, well, Trump kind of left some room for interpretation with his response. The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented, not good. And he goes on to say, what a terrible night it's been. God bless you all. During the confirmation hearings today, Trump also made a press conference. He came out, and Hegseth was with Duffy, the new transportation secretary, was with them. And this is what let's go through that. Well, first of all, what the helicopter was doing. So there's a military base very nearby, and this is what Haig Seth had to say about what the helicopter was up to.
We first and foremost from the Defense Department want to pass our condolences to the 64 souls and their families that were affected by this. Never should happen. And certainly the 3 service members, the 3 soldiers, a young captain, staff sergeant, and a CW2, chief warrant officer, on a routine annual retraining of night flights on a standard corridor for a continuity of government mission.
So yeah, obviously that's interesting. But even me being the guy who wrote all about continuity of government and stuff, like I don't see that as a comm. I'm not going to decode that and take that as there's any hidden meaning there. I think he's just being truthful. Maybe we'll find out more later on. But yeah, you could follow the flight path of the helicopter, and he was like flying along the river there, the Potomac, and I don't know. Something's got to change. And Trump came out here. He gave his well wishes. We can listen to his comments here because this is very presidential. It's nice to have somebody in office that you can tell he's being very heartfelt with what he's saying, and he's not just like bumbling over a teleprompter like Biden would do. He's so good. We're so lucky to have Trump as a president. But there's a couple clips I'm going to play of Trump. This is the first one of him first addressing the nation and about the situation.
I speak to you this morning in an hour of anguish for our nation. Just before 9 p.m. last night, an American Airlines regional jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew collided with an Army Blackhawk helicopter carrying 3 military service members over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., while on final approach to Reagan National Airport. Both aircraft crashed instantly and were immediately submerged into the icy waters of the Potomac. Real tragedy. The massive search and rescue mission was underway throughout the night, leveraging every asset at our disposal. And I have to say, the local, state, federal, military, including the United States Coast Guard in particular, they've done a phenomenal job. So quick, so fast. It was mobilized immediately. The work has now shifted to a recovery mission. Sadly, there are no survivors. This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly. And we are a country of we are in mourning.
So right off the bat, I mean, he's shown his condolences, saying it's a tragedy. There's no survivors. And that, again, going back to what I saw on Twitter last night, people reporting, there's been 4 survivors pulled from the wreckage and stuff like this. Totally fabricated, made it up for the clicks. And it's unforgivable, that kind of behavior. What those people could have done to people online searching for answers for maybe family or friends. It has been reported that there was in Wichita, Kansas, there's this huge figure skating competition, and some of the people on the flights were participants, like from the U.S. national team, and I think even the Kremlin has reported that 2 of their figure skaters were on the flight, and their family members and whatnot, coaches. It is devastating. But then it gets interesting what Trump does here. He goes on to talk about some of the DEI stuff at the Federal Aviation Administration, and I'm curious if there was like some level of incompetence involved, because it almost seems like he's putting blame on the previous administration and the FAA.
Various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities.
You get the point here. It seems like they're putting the blame on incompetence. And if that's true, if there was some DEI reason that this happened, I mean, that's just so unfortunate. But it shows, again, another reason why the woke ideology is, this is a tangible thing you can point to and be like, the woke ideology killed people. If that's true. I do want to see more evidence. Again, we're not even 24 hours from this happening. So trying to take pretty much everything, even the stuff we see in the press conferences today, with a grain of salt, as I think everybody should. But here's another question that he took from the press earlier. And the way he said this was notable.
Investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers. And one of the other things I will tell you is that the systems that were built, I was going to rebuild the entire system, and then we had an election that didn't turn out the way it should have. But they didn't build the systems properly. They spent a lot of money renovating a system, spending much more money than they would have spent if they bought a new system for air traffic controllers, meaning the computerized systems. There are certain companies that do a very good job. They didn't use those companies. They use companies that should not have been doing it. No, I think it's very important to understand that for some jobs, and not only this, but air traffic controllers, they have to be at the highest level of genius. Okay.
The way he said it's like a high-level chess game, I thought it's an interesting phrase to use in the context of the question he was asked. You know, like, how do you know DEI is the reason for this accident? Well, it's a high-level chess game. It's like he wanted to say the chess aspect, but it didn't really fit with the question. But yeah, it's looking like it's the DEI stuff. But we're not gonna jump to conclusions on this show. We're just gonna talk about what went down, what we know, what we don't know, and go from there. So before we go any further and get to the rest of the news, we got some of the confirmation hearings. There's some clips going on. Tulsi Gabbard's getting grilled today. We got Kash Patel, who's his hearing's awesome. And then we got some executive orders from last night, which we're going to go through, and then a couple random stories. So probably won't keep you the full hour. But before we do any of that, we got to get to our sponsor of today's show. A big shout out to Epic Minerals. In a world full of environmental stressors, including electromagnetic toxicity, your body deserves natural protection and support. That's why we created Epic Minerals Colloidal Silver Extra with humic and fulvic acid spray, an advanced formula for total wellness. Colloidal silver has long been trusted for its ability to neutralize toxins, support skin health, and promote overall balance, but it doesn't stop there. Recent theories suggest it may also provide a natural defense against electromagnetic exposure, helping you thrive in today's connected world. To supercharge its benefits, we've added humic and fulvic acids, nature's most powerful bioavailability enhancers. These organic compounds ensure the silver and nutrients are absorbed efficiently so your body gets the full benefit. Whether you're restoring cellular balance, supporting your skin, or seeking resilience against modern stressors, this convenient spray is your natural solution. Don't settle for less when it comes to your health. Visit epicminerals.net and use promo code Badlands for 10% off to discover the protection and vitality of colloidal silver extra today. That's epicminerals.net, promo code Badlands. Epic Minerals, where nature meets innovation. And thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you to you guys watching for always supporting us by supporting our sponsors. We truly appreciate it. I just want to play one clip, and this will be the only clip I play from the Tulsi Gabbard hearing, but she goes on this like rant where she calls out a lot of the misgivings of former intelligence officials. And I thought this was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So take a listen to this.
The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once, but twice. And yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end.
It's pretty incredible how afraid these senators seem to be of RFK, of Tulsi, and of Kash. I said yesterday, I don't know for sure if we're going to get them all through. We may have a couple, senators who are afraid themselves to vote to confirm them. But these hearings are so enlightening. The leftists, the liberals, the Democratic senators are insane. They're like crybabies up there. But Kash Patel's his hearing was fantastic, and I got a couple clips to play.
Outside of this.
Let me start with this one. This is the QAnon question he got. Gotta love it.
Outside of this committee, and some people on this committee have accused you of promoting the QAnon movement. My colleagues have already asked your future boss, Mr. Bondi, many questions about this. I think it's easy to see these attacks for what they are, guilt by association. Are you a follower or promoter of QAnon?
No, Senator. In fact, I have publicly, including in the interviews provided to this committee, rejected outright QAnon baseless conspiracy theories or any other baseless conspiracy theories. They must be addressed head on with the truth, and I will continue to do that. And I will always continue to support Americans who support law enforcement, our military, and want a secure border.
Over the past,
I thought it was kind of brilliant that Grassley was the first one to question him, right? He's the chairman of this committee. I thought it was kind of brilliant that he is the first one to ask this question, because he allows Kash to respond, because he's going to get this question from pretty much everybody else. And he did. He's been asked it a few times from different people. I don't think we've seen Adam Schiff question him yet, but that'll probably be going on here shortly. But he's gotten this question. He was asked about his association with Laura Loomer because they had a picture together. He was asked about going on Stu Peters' podcast. And the way he answered that too, which I don't think I have the clip here. This might be the clip. Let me play this once.
My association, as you loosely define it, is by appearing in media over 1,000 times to take on people who are putting on conspiratorial theories and to devour them of their false impressions and to talk to them about the truth. That is something that I will always continue to fight for, Senator.
As far as I know, having not watched the last like half hour or so, I haven't been brought up. So good or bad thing, I don't know. But he just said there that the reason he goes on these other shows is to basically disavow them and prove them wrong, like show why they're conspiracies, whatever. I totally misquoted that. But so I say the fact that he hasn't come on with me and he basically disassociates with me in any way possible, other than the one picture I took with him, I think that's a good sign. It means I'm over the target. It means we're right about a lot of things on Badlands. And I'm going to stick to that story. But this is probably my favorite answer right here. Maisie's questioning him, and she brings up the question about the election. He answers with a non-answer, and I think it's brilliant and also enlightening, and it serves as confirmation, I think, in a lot of ways to the way many people, including those in this community, feel about what happened with the 2020 election. Take a listen.
Mr. Patel, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 presidential election? Yes or no?
President Biden's election was certified. He was sworn in and he served as the president of the United States.
Once again,
Did Trump lose the election? No, he didn't answer that. He just said Biden was sworn in and he served as the president. Didn't answer whether or not Trump lost. And that's because he's spoken before. We all know he's spoken before about what happened in the 2020 election. And personally, myself and many others in this community, we want to see the 2020 election exposed for what it was. So I think it's a great sign. Right before I came on air, they were also talking about the Epstein logs. And I think it was Marsha Blackburn questioning him. And so we could probably look to see movement on that once he gets confirmed. Kash Patel is the one I want in there more than anybody else. I mean, Tulsi would be great. I think RFK Jr. would be great. But if I had to pick one of them, one of the three to get in, it'd be him. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe Trump's going to end up using the recess appointments. But let's go on to last night. There's a lot of action on the White House website last night. Quite a few executive actions that came through. Yesterday was it afternoon? I think it was afternoon. Trump signed the Laken Riley Act into law, and he held a press conference. It was pretty cool to see him come out because I'm pretty sure this is the first thing that he's actually signed into law, if I'm not mistaken. And so coming out, all presidential and talking to the press about it. The family was there, was emotional, and you could see Trump like truly felt empathy for the mother and the families of these victims. That was refreshing to see. And I thought this was really good too. While he's up there, he gets a question from a reporter while they're signing the bill and he's handing out the markers. Some reporter asks a question, and his response to this reporter was just perfect.
I don't think this is appropriate time, really.
The reporter asks, "Can you take a quick question on government funding?"
This is appropriate time, really. I respect that, but I don't think it's appropriate. I can just tell you government is doing very well and we're cutting way back, but this is not the appropriate time. Thank you.
That right there, I mean, you got to love him for that. Truly. And it should put the reporter in their place. A totally inappropriate question. And Trump handled it beautifully, just beautifully. A couple interesting things that he said yesterday, though, while he was up there, is he had some interesting comments about Gitmo. We talked about this a little bit on the Power Hour last night, but he talked about adding on to Gitmo. I mean, he's been adding on to Gitmo, but he talked about sending migrants there and using this like secretive migrant facility. And you know what? I'm going to see if I can find that clip. Because in all the research I've done, and I've been looking into Gitmo for 4 years now, and I had no idea that they used aspects of this as a migrant facility. And then once I found that out because of what Trump said yesterday, you do some digging into it, and there has been reporting and news on this, and it kind of changes your whole perception of what the significance of Gitmo might be. But take a listen to this.
Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them. because we don't want them coming back. So we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. This will double our capacity immediately, right? And tough. That's a tough place to get out of. Today's signings bring us one step closer to eradicating the scourge of migrant crime in our communities once and for all.
And sure enough, last night, that's what they put out. They put out expanding Migrant Operations Center at Naval Station Guantanamo Bay to full capacity. And again, for those who don't know the history, Obama tried to shut it down, wasn't able to, I believe, because of Congress. Trump gets in there, starts expanding it, even though they had a declining prisoner population, like from 30 something when Trump started, it's down to like 15 now or something, maybe even less. I know more came out under Biden. Biden tries to shut it down, but couldn't. The construction there continued. They added a courthouse. They added more beds. They added a facility to house classified documents. And everybody's like, well, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Why would they add there with a declining prisoner population unless they're planning on sending a lot of people? And here we go. Is it potentially because of the migrant situation? And when you think of the migrant situation, you could think of terrorists. You could think of foreign nationals. How many Chinese citizens are in here that don't belong here? He's talked about that. How many foreign intelligence or foreign special operations teams are in here? I can't remember the phrase that Ezra Cohen-Watnick used. I tried to remember it last night and I couldn't think of it either, but they're here. We have enemy combatants in our country, and this is where they're going. Gitmo. I hereby direct the Secretary of Defense and Secretary of Homeland Security to take all appropriate actions to expand the Migrant Operations Center at Naval Station Guantanamo Bay to full capacity to provide an additional detention space for high-priority criminal aliens unlawfully present in the United States and to address attendant immigration enforcement needs identified by the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security. This memorandum is issued in order to halt the border invasion, dismantle criminal cartels, and restore national sovereignty. Love it. So we'll probably see more on this. There wasn't an ICE update on the numbers today. That's why I didn't bring that up already. So I've been keeping my eye out for it. Haven't seen it yet. Once it comes out, we'll probably have to throw it on tomorrow's show. But we're still at the same numbers as of yesterday. Now, a couple more things that I thought were brilliant. Trump really he really approached the education stuff yesterday, and I've been really looking for this to happen. I've said a couple times over the last couple weeks, some of the conversations I'm having with my local school here that my kids go to, the place I used to work for, and the lack of initiative that they have in true school choice. Like the state legislature here in North Dakota, and I know it's other places. There's only like 12 states in the country that truly embrace school choice, not all to the same degree. But here in North Dakota, for a state that's pretty overwhelmingly voted for Trump and support that agenda, they don't go with them in school choice, and it's because of the union here, the North Dakota it's NDCEL, North Dakota Council of Educational Leaders or something. It's a nonprofit. They have lobbyists who fight against any form of school choice and have for a decade or more. There's unions here. They won't do it. They won't touch it. And so I'm hoping that with this executive order, maybe we'll see some movement here. Maybe they'll finally realize that, okay, it's Trump's agenda. It should be our agenda too, because ultimately it is up to the states to figure this stuff out. But people need to start paying attention to these states that aren't going along with Trump's mandate. But here's what's in the order. Expanding educational freedom and opportunity for families. Parents want and deserve the best education for their children, but too many children do not thrive in their assigned government-run K-12 schools. According to this year's National Assessment of Educational Progress, 70% of 8th graders were below proficient in reading and 72% were below proficient in math. Moreover, geographically based school assignments exacerbate the cost of housing in districts with preferred schools, straining the finances of millions of American families, sacrificing for their children's futures. When our public education system fails such a large segment of society, it hinders our national competitiveness and devastates families and communities. For this reason, more than a dozen states have enacted universal K-12 scholarship programs, allowing families, rather than the government, to choose the best educational setting for their children. I guess it's the most common sense thing you can think of when it comes to our education system. Like, how is not every single state in the country doing this already? The money should follow the student. The student should get to pick. You shouldn't be forced to go to the place that you live closest to just because that's what your government says you have to. That's stupid. These states have highlighted the most promising avenue for education reform, educational choice for families, and competition for residentially assigned government-run public schools. It is the policy of my administration to support parents in choosing and directing the upbringing and education of their children. And this is all these executive orders. They're going to put a guideline in place where it's like, okay, this agency, you have X amount of time to come up with a plan of how you're going to accomplish the policy set forth in this executive order. This is no different. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Education shall issue guidance regarding how states can use federal formula funds to support K-12 educational choice initiatives. And what I think is interesting about this, Trump has said he wants to basically get rid of the Department of Education. And promoting school choice and pushing states to use their tax dollars to on a student basis rather than just the schools, right? It follows the students, create that competition, allow some of these private schools and parochial schools to, benefit from that, create that competition. I mean, this is the way to do it. And then the follow on to this is once this is executed properly, and it has expanded to all the states, and there is a true school choice program everywhere, you don't actually need the Department of Education anymore. The states can actually handle it. I mean, that's my take on it, but I think that's a perfect setup. Get these states to have the funding go to the students, give the families more choice of where they want to send their kids, create that competition. The schooling will get better. The cost of education will probably get more efficient. There'll be less waste involved for sure. And then after that, what do you need the Department of Education for? You don't. Secretary of Education shall include education freedom as a priority in discretionary grant programs. There's a focus on low-income working families, military families, and the Bureau of Indian Education schools. Yeah, love this executive order. Looking forward to seeing it executed. And then beyond that, they went even further, ending radical indoctrination in K-12 schools. And it ties right into it. Another great one, because this ends the funding for schools, public schools that are, or any school, I guess, schools that are using the woke agenda, critical race theory. If you promote any of that stuff, you don't get any more funding. And if that's the case, especially in public schools, what are you going to do? You're going to have to shut down. Parents trust America's schools to provide their children with a rigorous education and to instill a patriotic admiration for our incredible nation and the values for which we stand. In recent years, however, parents have witnessed schools indoctrinate their children in radical anti-American ideologies while deliberately blocking parental oversight. My administration will enforce the law to ensure that recipients of federal funds providing K-12 education comply with all applicable laws prohibiting discrimination in various contexts and protecting parental rights. Critical race theory gone, everything. And then with this, they're bringing back patriotic education. They're ending the indoctrination strategy, eliminating funding for or support for illegal and discriminatory treatment, and then reestablishing the President's Advisory's 1776 Commission and promoting patriotic education. If you remember from November, the day before the election in 2020, they had that Executive Order 13958, and it was all about the President's Advisory, patriotic education for all. And when this came in, or when the Biden administration came in, they got rid of it. Like one of the first things he did, getting rid of patriotic education. It's insane, but they're bringing that back. And they talk a little bit about this birthday party. And I think this is so freaking funny. Trump has created an executive order to throw America a banger of a birthday party. And I'm going to read through this here. Celebrating America's 250th birthday. I just got to pull something up quick. Oh man, I should have done this before. Anyway, it is policy of the United States and a purpose of this order to provide a grand celebration worthy of the momentous occasion of the 250th anniversary of American independence on July 4th, 2026. It is also the purpose of this order to take other actions to honor the history of our great nation. Trump has multiple times talked about the 250th anniversary and the birthday party, and he literally created a party planning committee for the party in July of 2026. So funny.
What is that? It is your birthday period.
Statement of fact.
It reminds me, The Office has, I could have pulled multiple compilations of the party planning committee stuff from The Office. But there is hereby established a White House task force on celebrating America's 250th birthday. One of the more notable things I found about this was the funding for it and the task force for it. The birthday party task force is going to be housed in the Department of Defense. So it's going to be a Department of Defense based task force to plan a party for America, and the funding for it is also going to come from there too. I think it's very interesting. But they're going to coordinate with executive departments and agencies to plan, organize, and execute an extraordinary celebration of the 250th anniversary of American independence, and shall coordinate agencies' communications with the United States Semi-Quincentennial Commission. Just fascinating. But I am going to this. I'm going to, whatever I got to do, I'm going to this birthday party. We all should. Wherever it's at, it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. But we got to wait till July. We're going to have to plan a GART around this too. Like a GART pre or post birthday party. This is also bringing back one of the executive orders Trump signed and was also disbanded by the Biden administration. Executive Order 13934, the National Garden of American Heroes that Trump kept talking about. So it's just, it still blows my mind. Trump put forth a Patriotic Education Commission and a National Garden of American Heroes, and those are two executive orders that the Biden administration got rid of. It's just, on its face, it's un-American. Just funny how that's one of the things that happened that nobody really talks about that. I mean, there's lots of issues you could look at with the Biden administration and be critical of them, but just the blatant anti-American things that they've done, it's fascinating. But also protecting America's monuments from vandalism, another one that Biden removed. Insane. It's also reinstated. So very cool executive order. Loved all of them that came through yesterday. And I think that's not all of them. There's one more that came through. I'm not even going to really add much commentary to this one. I'm just going to read it. Additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. Actually, I lied. I will have one piece of commentary. Let me read these two parts here. My administration has fought and will continue to fight anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world. On December 11th, 2019, I issued Executive Order 13899, my first executive order on combating anti-Semitism, finding that students in particular faced anti-Semitic harassment in schools and on university and college campuses. The prior administration effectively nullified that executive order by failing to give the terms of the order full force and effect throughout the government. In wake of the Hamas terrorist attacks of October 7th, basically we're going to reauthorize that executive order again. It shall be the policy of the United States to combat anti-Semitism vigorously, using all available and appropriate legal tools to prosecute, remove, or otherwise hold to account the perpetrators of unlawful anti-Semitic harassment and violence. My only real thought on this executive order is it borderlines, if not crosses, that line of free speech. Like, where does that free speech end? Like, why can't people criticize Israel or the Jews? Like, why? If there's something worthy of criticism, people should be allowed to voice it. And so I never really appreciate these types of executive orders where they appear to be hampering free speech. Now, I do agree with, if there are people taking advantage of our immigration system or, student visa status and basically causing havoc on campuses in the name of Hamas or whatever, it shouldn't be for this issue in particular. It should be for any issue. If you're here on a visa status and you are protesting and causing issues on campuses for whatever issue it is, then I don't think you should be allowed to stay. I think you should go. You should go back. And that's some of what this is going to address, is the people that were, pro-Hamas on college campuses, protesting and whatnot. I just don't want to see any infringement on our First Amendment rights. So we'll see how this is executed as we go through. Interesting stories. Now I got 2 or 3, and then we'll get you guys out of here. There's an internal GOP memo that got leaked, and it outlines the case for Trump to buy the Panama Canal. And I know some of this discussion has been a little mimetic. It's kind of been a joke, like, oh, we're just going to take back the Panama Canal. Trump's just saying it. He's being hyperbolic again. But no, there's movement on this. we might actually see some action. House Republicans leadership is encouraging lawmakers to back up President Donald Trump's desire to return the Panama Canal to U.S. ownership, a new memo suggests. The GOP Policy Committee, led by Kevin Hern, the number 5 House Republican leader, sent the document to legislative directors across the conference on Wednesday. It was simply titled Panama Canal, and it highlights Trump's past comments about China's influence over the Panama Canal and its goal of taking it back. And it also noted that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be visiting Panama on his first trip as Trump's top diplomat. And I did go through it. There's nothing like crazy in here. It's some decent information about the history of it, but nothing that I really wanted to highlight. I just think it's interesting that they're making this part of their policy to back Trump on this. And Trump has his reasons. I fully expect if this is something he wants done, he's going to get it done. And so there's already some movement on this. We got Senator Bob Menendez. He back in the news. He was jailed for 11 years for bribery. For those who aren't familiar with this guy, he's a former New Jersey senator. He's sentenced to 11 years in prison for his conviction on bribery and corruption. Last July, a jury found him guilty on 16 counts for accepting gifts, including gold bars, cash, and a Mercedes-Benz in exchange for helping foreign governments. They were seeking a 15-year sentence. The New Jersey senator, who used to lead the powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee, resigned from upper chamber in August. The guilty verdict came after a 9-week trial during which jurors saw evidence that Menendez accepted gifts, including gold bars worth over $100,000 and more than $480,000 in cash found by FBI agents inside his home. In exchange for the bribes, prosecutors said Menendez helped secure millions of dollars in U.S. aid for Egypt. If you thought that was bad, imagine somebody withholding $1 billion in aid unless they fired a prosecutor in Ukraine. Crazy. I'm talking about Joe Biden, if you weren't aware. But yeah, so the funniest thing about this is this guy's criticism of Trump in the past and his comments yesterday about Trump being right about the weaponized justice system. I got to play this clip for you.
The American people deserve to know who they elected to be their president. They deserve to know if he's in fact putting America's interests first. And they deserve to know if Donald Trump is, wittingly or unwittingly, an agent for the Russian Federation.
President Trump is right. This process is political and it's corrupted to the core. I hope President Trump cleans up the cesspool and restores the integrity to the system. Are you going to ask?
It's just hilarious. Just hilarious. I wonder if he's going to get a pardon from Trump or if he's going to ask. I doubt Trump would give him one, but it would be funny to see him ask and Trump be like, yeah, why don't you come, you get on your knees, grovel, and then no, you don't get one. That was the last story I had. I did scan Twitter real quick. There's 2 clips I'm going to play. I haven't watched these ahead of time, so forgive me, but they appear to be interesting. Patriots in control. Great account to follow, by the way. Kash is pressed again on the 2020 election. He refuses again to say Joe Biden won. So in line with what we played earlier.
Do you believe that the 2020 election was stolen, as President Trump says it is?
Sir, my opinions on the 2020 election have been expressed in this hearing, and he's entitled to whatever opinions he wants.
Do you agree with him that the election was stolen in 2020?
Senator, millions of Americans have expressed concern going back to multiple elections over election integrity.
You know, you're so skillful. You understand what I'm asking you. Can you say the words, Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
Joe Biden was the president of the United States.
You understand this? There's a difference. I can say the words, Donald Trump won. I don't like to say it, but I must say it. And you cannot say that Joe Biden won the election.
What I can say is the same for both of them, Senator. Both of their elections were certified, and they are both, one was and one now is president.
Okay.
Brilliant. One of the most fundamental truths from the last 8 years, and all credit to Chris Paul for this, but the fundamental truth is Joe Biden did not receive 81 million real lawful American votes. Simple as that. And Kash Patel will not acknowledge that he won the election. I hope we get some form of election audit or something from 20. I hope it's addressed. Okay, this is the last clip. Steak for breakfast. It says Kash Patel bodies corrupt California Senator Adam Schiff. I can't wait to go back and watch his exchange with Adam Schiff in full, but here we go.
If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr.
Yes
Schiff,
or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
If you were the FBI director and you promoted a song to someone who beat an FBI agent with a pole, would you say you were fit to be FBI director?
Mr. Schiff, I am fit to be FBI director based on my 16 years
And
of
yet you
government
did all these
service.
things.
Amazing. That is amazing. Anyway, guys, like I said, I keep it short for you. We're going to get you out of here 10 minutes early. Hit that thumbs up. Greatly appreciate it. Share it around with your friends. If you didn't know, we do upload every single one of our shows to Podbean. And so I know some people like that format. They can listen to the podcast later or whatever. If that's your cup of tea, make sure you guys check us out over on Podbean. I found out yesterday, even without really promoting it ever, we are a top 100 podcast on, according to Podbean's metrics or whatever that they sent us. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're following us over on YouTube, following us on Instagram, subscribe to the Substack. We're going to start the show notes probably next week. Get your GART tickets, badlandsmedia.tv/events. Vegas is coming up here quick. Other than that, I'll come back and read the rants in a second, and we will see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?
All right, I see Miss Bright's in the chat, so I'm extra glad that I promoted GART. I actually did not do that just because you were there. I just saw you now. So nice to know she's a fan, though. Nice to know. I'm gonna have to rub that in Burning Bright's face. A couple rants here for you. 12 Indie Boy, nice to see you, Ty. Breaking news, everything isn't a calm. I totally agree with that, but unfortunately, there are many people that do not feel that same way. Everything is a calm to them. Everything. All things. Then G. Henry, radio had the Rush Limbaugh show. Television had Tucker Carlson tonight. Badlands Media has the Daily Herold. I appreciate the rant and the support. I am not nearly as talented as those two individuals by any means, but hey, I won't try to change your mind. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to get back to watching that Kash Patel hearing. I feel like I got a little FOMO, so we'll catch you later.